Welcome to Generation Flex, where we bring generationally diverse perspectives to burning challenges. As the saying goes, what is old is new again. I wish that was a reference to fashion, but it's not. It's about workplace romances. Once again, a professional entanglement made headline news. The latest case in point, the alleged romance between ABC Good Morning America anchors TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. Certainly not the first famous at-work fling, nor will it be the last. Most have been scandalous and temporary, where others have succeeded. Lest we forget, Barack and Michelle Obama openly shared that their relationship bloomed from a law office mentor-mentee assignment. Hey, it happens. Do you give workplace romance a yay, a nay, or a maybe? Needless to say, it's complicated, and my guests today have much to say about it. I'd like to welcome to the show Generation Boomer, Levi Moore, President, Proxy 2.0, Generation X, Michelle Mackey, President and founder of Mackey Media Relations, another Generation X, Sharice Trott, CEO of Sage Elite Studios, and another Generation X, and Tawana Streeter, Director of Corporate Partnerships, Shed Aquarium, and host of DIY DEI on Can TV. So what do you think? A lot of times employers have fraternizing between boss and employee is off limits. How do you feel about workplace romances? Should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? What do you think?
No.
Say more.
No.
You were ready with that no, Tawana. Say more about that.
I worry about the optics of it. And then what if it goes wrong? I think I'm more, my mom schooled me, you don't, where you eat. So you don't where you eat.
Okay, keep your hands and your eyes to yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
So, yeah, I've certainly had admirers, but it was always that uncomfortable, uneasy feeling when, that person's coming to visit me at my desk, and here comes my boss the third day in a row, like, you're here again. It's like, let's just, so no.
Can I ask, did you ever admire someone that you were like, ooh, what would mama say?
No.
Okay, we won't name names. We'll just leave it at that. It's a no. That's fine. Levi, how you feel?
I'm okay with it, but I don't think you can now. Things have changed so much that there is this old thing people used to do called minding their own business that they're not very good at. We also have this other situation where something really doesn't affect them that much. They say, oh, I feel uncomfortable, as if it really impacts them. And in the past, I've had a lot of experiences. I've worked for small companies, large companies, government, large international firm, not-for-profit, and it actually worked in the past, and there was some transition where, but big key, as long as there isn't this differential in authority. But if it's two peers, I don't need to know what you're doing.
As two peers on the same team?
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to know as a manager?
If they don't bring it to work.
How could they not bring it to work?
It's possible. I think I was telling you guys in the break room, I have actually been accused of dating somebody at work who I was not, and was dating somebody at work that no one had a clue.
That means you were good at your game. That's the only way. You're good at your game, Levi. We'll talk about that whole workplace spouse thing as we go along. Now, both Michelle and Sharice, I think you may beg to differ with all of what you just heard. So what do you think? Should workplace romances be allowed?
In my case, that would be the only way I would be married today, because of the fact that I was considered probably a workaholic, and I pretty much went to work and went to church, and that was it. That was my life. Okay. And so I met my husband at work at a management's meeting in Las Vegas. So guess things just didn't stay in Vegas like they should have. They did not. But
And we're glad about it,
Yeah,
Cherie.
and I am extremely glad that they didn't stay. So like a year later, we became married, but it was very much, he and I had a strong understanding because I was moving up in the company, he was too, and we did not want to jeopardize anything. So we were on the down low until the engagement came. And then he was on one side of the country, I was on the other. So we had to let, our executives know what was happening at that point. But I think it has to start with the maturity of the individuals first and foremost, understanding the policies of the company, because the company that he and I both worked for, fortunately, there was a lot of couples. Wow. A lot of couples in that particular company.
Generational couples.
Generational couples. So, we kind of fell into that, but I understand that most companies did not work that way. But like I said, it worked well for me. We're almost 20 years in, and that's the only way I would have been married.
Oh, that's a blessing. 20 years. Congratulations. Congratulations. You said something interesting, Sharice, I want to dig into a little bit more before we hear your story, Michelle. And that is, you said you were in different parts of the country and you had to disclose to your employer. How'd you feel about that? Did you have a manager or somebody say to you, you're dating someone, you have to say something?
No, we disclosed. We didn't have to disclose because we did not have, I wasn't reporting to him, he wasn't reporting to me. Yeah. We were in different parts of the country. Yes, we were in both operations, in the both division of operations, but he was in Florida, I was in Maryland. And so when we had to disclose is when we were thinking, where are we going to settle? So that's when we're like, okay.
So I got to bring my wife, Sharice, from the West Coast.
Well,
we got a problem
So
here.
it's just interesting. He came my way, and then we went to the corporate office. So in Illinois. So yes, but we disclosed at that point. We did not
for relocation purposes.
For relocation purposes.
You always got to have a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's fantastic. How about you, Michelle?
Well, given my personal experience, I absolutely have to say it's complicated. I can't come out, against this. And I also feel as the owner of my own business, managing a team of people, young people, it's complicated, right? Even I have kids that are starting to date now, and I wouldn't wish any complicated relationship on them to meet someone at work, but it happens, right? I mean, we know how much time we spend with our colleagues, sometimes more than our own family, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it is so hard for these people these days, single people, to meet people. And so sometimes there are great options at work.
Yeah.
For me, I wasn't planning on meeting my husband. It didn't, I didn't intend on having a spouse come from that office job, but he was the vendor that walked in the door to sell us computers, and he looked good, right? But I didn't intend on him being my husband, But things happened, right? And they didn't exactly love it at the office, but sometimes we like that spice in our life, right? We go after what we are not really supposed to do. And so I think that's kind of what was happening to me back then. But I've been married 22 years and things are going strong.
Oh,
so
wow. Congratulations
thank
to you two. A whole new meaning to, what did Roger and Zap say? Computer love, baby. A whole new meaning to it. I sure do. I appreciate it. But, this whole issue of, and especially I want to ask you this, Michelle, because as a business owner, and you say you have people on the team, are there individuals that maybe you suspect are having a relationship? And if so, are you looking for them to share something with you?
That hasn't happened yet. I will say there have been some clients, though, that sometimes make some comments to some team members, and I notice some flirtation going on, and then I get that nervousness in my stomach, like, oh no. Is this going to be a situation where I have to say something? But we're a newer company, we're a small company, so I don't have policies in place on that necessarily yet.
Sure you do. You're the policy maker. I like it.
But I step in if need be, if I see something that's inappropriate or shouldn't be happening. But I'm kind of like, I empathize with what you said, because why would you want that, really? I mean, it only adds layers of difficulty, and I don't really want them to be dating each other, because it's hard to keep it out of work, right?
Exactly.
It depends on the person and how mature they are. I agree with you, and the
Part
couple.
of it depends on what industry you're in. too.
And the industry too, yeah.
You could be in an industry where I work in government relations, public affairs.
Yeah.
We've all worked with each other for years.
Yeah.
Whether it is in government or at an association or on a team, working on a bill or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's so odd that I don't know if a school teacher could really understand, well, why do you have to be at a breakfast meeting at 6 in the morning and don't get home until 2?
Right.
It's legislative session.
Yeah.
Only somebody that might work in your industry would get that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, it's interesting you say that because, and no, look, shout out to the school teachers. It's nothing against school teachers. But I think there probably is something to be said for individuals who kind of understand the situation. I think you were kind of explaining that as well, that we know what organization we're in, we know sort of what we're trying to accomplish individually, not to mention, eventually together. But I do feel like, and even in this, this Holmes Robach situation where, there was a sense of you should have said something, and
Yes.
I kind of feel like, yeah, you probably should say something because it is going to have an effect on everybody else
Yes.
Right.
on the team, one
Yes.
way or another. Either people are going to chatter,
Right.
did you see how he looked at her, blah, 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 blah. You have a spat, you bring that in. Like,
Well,
how much should be
They
disclosed
were married
to other people?
to other people.
Yes.
So they should have, even if they were separated,
They should
their
have disclosed to a whole bunch
employer,
of people.
their employer should not have heard about them dating along with the rest of the world. That should not have happened.
But how much should be disclosed? How much should they have had to say, and when?
Bingo. As my question was, at what point do you feel you're dating?
Ooh, good question.
Good question.
Can you lean into that one now, Levi? Can someone be confused about
Well,
whether or not
there's-
I'm being dated?
Let's see, there's coffee,
Right.
then there's having a meal, then you see each other a couple times, and it still may not work out, but when you've gone out that couple of times, that first time, is that dating?
Well, Levi, that might be a different order nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
She said a different order.
There's another situation that might happen nowadays.
The order might be a little
It's
different.
the sole male perspective at the table. So.
And that's wonderful that's the order, and I love that order. Some start a little different. Coffee
when
is
the topic
last.
was dating, I took it very specifically. So they really do mean dating and not getting together. Because
I think you have to define it because dating and just hooking up are two different things.
Right.
Totally
Right,
different, yeah.
right.
Right? But
Oh,
yet,
that's even worse.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and then that could lead to dating, but
Yep.
It
that
could
is
also lead to
worse.
something worse.
That's the thing.
It all depends, I think, on how serious they were at the time, like what they really considered it to be. Like the reports say now that they're totally in love and they're public and they don't care. Has it been that way all along? Like then it's like, okay, let's talk to our management. But like you said, I don't know what it was in the beginning. Maybe it was more casual. Maybe it's not time to tell the bosses yet.
Does it matter what if you are seeing multiple people?
I mean, they were
See,
married.
this is when we start having an investigation. and I think in their case, there is an investigation underway
yeah.
because you got to walk around and say, well,
Exactly.
The timing
how do
of it
you
all.
define the dating or did we're talking, really, the boomer, he's talking to her, that meant you were a couple
Especially
because you were talking.
nowadays with sexual harassment. And if I don't know, I'm not
Right.
saying I would do this, but if I don't know you two are dating and I hear something that is inappropriate,
That's fair.
I'm obligated to report that.
That's fair.
To
That's
who?
a great point.
Your coworker?
To management,
Yeah.
to manage. I will report it to well, I wouldn't, but
how about
it would be
this?
my job to report it to management. I would mind my business.
We're gonna have to move to a break. But here's what I want to just try to throw out there, and then we're gonna go to a break. what if you start talking to your coworker that you got your eye on this other person, and you have no idea that the coworker is already dating that person? Mess. Okay, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Generation Flex. We were getting into the mess of it. Now let's get to the bottom of it. Is consensual office romances shady, sinful, or really nobody's business? And if you think about office chatter, water cooler talk, I say something about someone in the office I might be interested in, and little do I know, you may already be talking or dating or hanging out with. Have to get your definition in there, Levi. What do you think? Is it shady? What should happen?
I'm still going with it's none of your business. And I'm still thinking about places I've worked at and the hours you're at work or you're on the road. I mean, at one point, I was only home like 7, 8 days a month traveling for work all the time. So if you're with a team, who do you see all the time?
Yeah, but you gotta control yourself.
Yeah.
There's still self-control, right?
Yeah.
That's not a benefit of the job.
Not a benefit, but then if you were working, 10, 12 hours a day, when do you meet other people? At the grocery store?
Right.
Yes.
I think that's the big epidemic today. Is it's really hard for people to meet people if you're not, on dating apps. If you work from home now, you don't like to go out to bars. I mean, it's not that easy. So I do feel like you sort of end up, possibly connecting with the people that you're around most.
So let's talk about everybody else from the standpoint of the team members. So, an organization, you're a business owner, you're a business owner, you're a business owner.
Yeah.
You have people who are depending on you to create an environment where everyone is jovial, there's harmony, there's all of this. And to think that a personal romantic situation could stand to destroy that good thing that you had in terms of the atmosphere that you created where we all were transparent and knew where each other, sort of stood. So, I want us to spend a little time thinking about what is the impact on the team, because decisions can be made, suspicions arise. Is that how he got that project? Because he's been on the road 12 hours with him, so go ahead, Sharice.
I think it's inevitable when you have people working together for extended amount of times, over years upon years, you should be proactive to have a policy in place to account for that, because you're going to have the sneaking around. You're going to have the folks that feel like I can't disclose it because I don't want to get fired. Or I don't want to have negative ramifications or be moved somewhere. So I think the easier you can make it to have someone quickly disclose a romantic, relationship, and really put it back on them to say, this is what constitutes dating, and this is what you would need to do in order to remain with the company appropriately.
Oh, I so need you to define that for me. Like, what would constitute dating? How would you put that in policy? And what's TMI? What's just too much?
Well, I think that's the question. I think, to me, I would think that this person, I would like to further a relationship beyond colleague. We have sat together, we've said, this is where we want to go, and it's beyond just colleague and friend.
That's almost like, will you be my...
Well, I think you're going to have those very that's a conversation that needs to be had. I mean, my husband and I had that conversation. We're beyond friends. Now, we didn't need to disclose because, again, we were working from 2 different areas of the country. We had 2 different bosses.
Yeah.
We weren't colleagues.
Yeah.
So it was a different situation. So all of those scenarios would need to be
Yeah.
etched out.
So you don't think that 2 individuals who are having an intimate relationship would need to disclose that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would need to be disclosed. Now you're touching and feeling and getting involved and exchanging
Exactly.
things. And exchanging
Which can be
things.
messy.
Right, and that's messy. And
You
that
have an
is
argument.
That's more, to me, that's riskier than just someone saying, okay, we are going to be on that and there's no intimacy yet. Once the intimacy comes involved, then you have the risk of other things happening.
Yeah, I'm sure there is probably some language out there today that, different
there's
folks are
some-
using
there's
that are
some
like,
attorneys who
for
made
sure.
a lot of money off of
Oh,
this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it made me think about, okay, well, what if one person works in operations and one person works in sales?
Yes.
Or they work in 2 completely different functions.
Yeah.
Do not cross over at all. Is that working together?
Yeah.
So that was exactly with my husband.
Yeah.
My husband, when we went to corporate, he was in merchandising, I was still in ops. Never did we connect, at
Yeah.
meetings, but that was it, you know?
How about you, Michelle?
I
what
do
were some of
feel
those
like I need
boundaries?
some sort of a policy because it's otherwise it'll just be too, wild, wild west, like just danger, I mean, I have to somehow like manage the situation as the owner of the business, right? But I do feel like what we try to do is be, I'm a very open type of manager. Like we're all pretty close and tight knit. I feel like it'd be pretty tough for someone to hide something like that currently. And I'd want them to feel comfortable coming to me, but I mean, you're making me wonder here, Sim. But I'm like, I'm hoping people will tell me if something's going on, and we can work on it together. Because the last thing I want to do, I'm a romantic. Like, I don't want to cut the cord on someone who's really in love, But if it's interfering with work and things are getting, uncomfortable and gossip, then it's time to really, say something.
Or then there's that really awkward situation where you have this whistleblower and they whistled something that was completely wrong.
Right.
Yes.
Now who needs to leave?
And somebody lost their job. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Right.
right. Yeah.
So let me take another direction on it for a second. What happens if there's a breakup? So we knew there was a romance, there was a breakup. What do you monitor or do you address the oversharing? So on either party's side that, girl, guess what he said today, and da da da, what the breakup is a possibility. We've got some very successful relationships here.
Yeah.
Very good. That's a blessing. Should employers then begin to monitor disparate treatment? When you said sales and operations, all of a sudden the sales numbers didn't get through. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have been da 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 da. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people can be very vindictive. Do you agree, or am I just out there by myself?
Yeah, I think that's
agree.
an even
Yeah,
harder
I agree.
issue. Like, how do you monitor that?
Yeah.
Even with like social media, people can
coworkers
say
that aren't
anything.
married can be vindictive.
Yeah.
There's just that's
Yeah.
what they say. Well, that's part of the deal. And maybe when you disclose, let them know in no uncertain terms that we expect a high degree of professionalism
Right.
if this does not work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what should an employer do? And I keep coming back to that because, at some point in time, there is a responsibility for the workplace, right? You're the arbiters of the culture,
Yeah.
And so if all these things are happening, maybe there's a breakup, maybe this is a new romance we're hearing about, and now we got to wonder, how did this happen and that happen and the other happen? How should an employer respond? What should they be looking for? Is there an agreement that there's, and are you finding that, maybe younger managers look at this differently than older managers? Like,
Older manager, I think I probably look at it differently.
how so?
At a certain point, now we started getting to all these little nuances. Okay, when exactly do they start dating? Okay, now I'm dealing with employees who are only in the office 2 days a week. So does it really impact me if they start dating offline and I really don't see them? At what point, okay, is there an uneven relationship in their authority? Are they two equals? Is one an employee, is one a contractor? I mean, lawyers will make a lot of money trying to figure this out.
What a tangled web we
yeah,
weave.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. What a tangled web we weave. Any? Now that I think you're going to be writing a policy in your future.
I'm like, uh-oh, no. Yeah, I think it's complicated. I really do. Yeah, I don't have like one answer on that. But like you said, I mean, it's time for an attorney to get involved and look at
Yeah.
all the angles of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it could get real messy. Yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
complicated.
Absolutely. Well, we'll hold it right there and we'll be right back. So, are workplace romances a clear-cut yay or nay? Or will they remain eternally complicated? The real answer is likely all of the above. Romantic interactions have been going on for decades, if not centuries, since laboring meant spending much more time at work than at home. A phenomenon that persists to this day, whether physically in office or remotely. The hashtag #MeToo movement gave an old issue a new polish, and many people paid a hefty price. Surely it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt for whatever reason, and then it all crumbles rapidly. On the other hand, there have been positive office romances which grew into long-lasting relationships. A strong case can be made for transparency in the name of workplace well-being, and after all, there still is an operation to run. Perhaps keeping one's business their business is easier said than done. If you kiss, you probably should be ready to tell, or risk salacious gossip and disruption. Yep, it's complicated. Proceed with caution and care. I'd like to thank my guests, Levi, Tawana, Michelle, and Sharice. And until next time, remember to live, laugh, and love. Thanks for watching.